Afternoon, the Township of Salem Committee of Adjustment meeting Tuesday, April the 28th, 2026, come to order. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of the committee, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. I would ask that all comments, questions, and answers be directed through me as the chair. This includes the public, staff, and council and members. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? None, please note that in a minute. And I will now turn it over to our planner to announce the purpose of the meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Committee of Adjustment is holding a public hearing today in accordance with Section 45 of the Planning Act in order to consider 4 applications for relief from Bylaw 2009-021, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Township of Salem. The prescribed notice of public hearing is provided via prepaid first-class mail to all residents within a 60-meter radius of the property subject to the applications, as well as by sign posted on the subject properties. The notices were also available on the Township's website. The notice circulation complies with the requirements of the Planning Act. If a person or public body would otherwise have the ability to appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn, but does not make oral submissions at a public hearing or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment before the committee gives or refuses to give approval to the application, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Committee of Adjustment of the Township of Selwyn in respect of the proposed variances before the committee gives or refuses to give approval to the applications, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment, you must make written submission to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment, providing your name and address or email address. So the first application we have before us today is A03-26. This is for 581 Dahlhaven Road. The project in this case is to permit a 63.8 square meter dwelling addition. The release being requested are to reduce the minimum high water setback from 30 meters to 25.5 meters to a dwelling, to decrease the minimum required interior side yard setback from 3 meters to 1.2 meters to a dwelling, and to increase the maximum lot coverage all buildings and structures from 20% to 20.6%. For this application, we have comments of no concern from the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority, as well as the County Engineering Construction. And the Alderville First Nation has provided comments outlining the need for an archaeological assessment. This has been included as a recommended condition of approval. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance, and I recommend the application for approval.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Like to go to the podium, please give us your name and your address.
Hi, my name is Leanne Reck at 581 Dahlhaven. I'm the applicant for the variance. It would be appreciated if the council would consider it for approval. The main reason for it is as we all know, there's housing affordability challenges. I have a 32-year-old son who is looking to make the next step in his personal life. And we are making this addition to provide him some additional living space with his future wife. And I feel it's important for, his personal mental well-being, as well as his future wife's, to have some legitimate space within the home of their own.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here that is in favor of this application? Is there anyone here that is against this application? Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone that registered online? There's no one else here for this application. All right, I will bring it to committee. Is there any questions with regards to that? Seeing none, we will move on to A04-26.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A04-26. This is for 1647 Kinsale Road. This is in regard to an as-constructed boathouse, 15 square meters. The intent is to provide a storage for a personal watercraft. The variances being requested are to reduce the minimum interior side yard setback from 5 meters to 3 meters to a boathouse, to increase the number of permitted accessory structures on a lot from 3 to 7, to increase the maximum accessory structure lot coverage from 5% to 6.6%, and to increase the permitted total lot coverage, all buildings and structures, from 20% to 25.2%. With regard to this application, the Conservation Authority has provided comments of no concern. County Engineering and Construction has also provided comments of no concern. Alderville First Nation has provided comments recommending an archaeological assessment, being that this is an as-built structure. It's not included as a recommended condition of approval. And we also have some public comments from a Jim Bob. I sent these comments to the Committee of Adjustment prior to the meeting. Essentially, I think the gist of the comments is that this person is concerned with retroactive variances being granted for an as-constructed building. And he's also concerned about the fact that currently the boathouse is not finished, so it doesn't have doors facing the water, and would therefore, in his opinion, not meet a definition of a boathouse. These will be rectified after variance is granted. I think that's essentially the main points of his concern. I guess he's somewhat stressing through his comments that he would like to see the property owner comply with the zoning bylaw as written, the regulations. However, that is the point of variances, is to grant relief from the provisions of the bylaw. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I do recommend this application for approval.
Is there anyone here in favor of the application? Podium, give us your name and address.
Oh, it's already on. It's Amanda Timmermans. I reside at 203 Summit Drive in Ennismore, and I'm here as a planner from DM Wills, representing the applicant, or sorry, the owner of the property as the applicant. So to begin, I just wanted to thank Township and Orca staff for their time and assistance in dealing with this application, as well for the report and comments made to the committee. As staff indicated, the purpose of the minor variance application is just to permit a boathouse on an undersized lot with some deficiencies in side yard setback and number of accessory structures. The owner purchased this prefabricated structure, speaking to the retroactive nature of the application. The owner purchased the prefabricated structure based on advice from a builder that a 15 square meter accessory building would no longer require a building permit. However, building permits are still required for boat sheds and boathouses, especially for buildings within the flood hazard. So the building was located within the floodplain. So we've been working with Orca to ensure that the boathouse is designed in a way that meets the floodplain policies of the PPS and Orca. So the owner did receive a notice to comply from the township back in the fall, requiring that building permit. So that's why all construction has stopped. And the owner has arranged to install a doorway facing the lake, as well as a marine rail to just make moving the boats in and out of the water easier, and to make sure we're in compliance with the Orca regulations. I also found that the minor variance meets all 4 tests of a minor variance from the Planning Act, and I've provided a report that details that assessment. And I'm available for any questions at the committee meeting.
Very much. Is there anyone else here that's in favor of this application? All right. And do you have anything you wish to add to the planner or the consultant's report? Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to speak against this application? If you can go up to ask your question. Yes. Give us your name and your number, or your name and your number, your name and your address.
Hi, Pat Young, So you're putting this forward before all the rules are in place, is what I'm seeing, like such as the railroad track built into the building, no door in the back of the building. At what point do you say go? Like, I mean, things, we've gone through a lot back there and it has to stop. So I just have that question. I'm not against it, but I just want it done right. That's the problem.
Oh, is it fair to answer that question?
So basically, before it started, anything over 160 square feet required a building permit. Was there ever a building permit taken out?
So for this particular application, no.
When it
There-
started,
there-
yeah.
there- There will be one
Yeah.
through you, Madam Chair, sorry.
Question come through the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Yeah, and that,
Okay,
So through you, Madam Chair, no, there is no building permit application in this case, because it is a boathouse and not a utility shed, which it will require a building permit. The exemption under the Building Code Act, and a chief building official can elaborate on that. Anything under 10 square meters, there's all buildings meeting certain criteria don't require a permit, but only utility sheds are exempted up to 15 square meters. So this is a boathouse of more than 10 square meters. So it will need a building permit, and that is a condition of the minor variance.
so there is a building permit, right?
Yeah. There will be one.
Yeah.
There isn't one yet, but there will be one needed.
Okay. So then, so the building permit will cover, and I'm not saying it's wrong, because I never looked at it close, but when it comes to 3 meters from the lake, that type of thing, that will be checked at a certain point.
Through you, Madam Chair. So the
sorry.
3 meter setback reduction is from the side yard property line, not the waterfront. It can be located right at the lake edge.
Okay.
Anything in water would have to get permits from the Trent Severn Waterway.
All right, no, so you're checking that other, so all I request is that it's done right. So, I mean,
that's why
Yeah.
we're here.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else speak against this application? Madam Deputy Clerk, is there anyone who registered online?
We have no one else here for this application.
Thank you very much. I'll bring it to Eddie. Are there any questions?
Not quite a reporting.
Um,
Yeah, I'm the silly one here. I wanted to follow up on the one point about the 7 structures on the property. Is that like a legacy? Are they built in? Can I have a bit more context about what that looks like? In regards to what is the minimum? Yeah.
So the maximum number under our current zoning bylaw that was changed in 2022 is 3. Prior to that, we didn't have any restrictions on the number of accessory structures on the lot. So anything built prior to 2022 is legal non-conforming. Yeah. But in order to permit this new one now, because it's on top of everything else, it needs this relief from the variance.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to clarify that.
Now we go on to the next application. Just for the audience, we go through each of them and then we make a motion at the end of the call. So we will now move on to A0526.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the next application, like I said, is A05-26. This is for 2782 Newcomb Lane. The application in this case is for a new approximately 600 square foot boathouse. The reliefs being requested are to reduce the interior side yard setback for a boathouse from 5 meters to 1.22 meters and increase the maximum permitted lot coverage for accessory structures from 5% to 5.22%. With this one, I have comments of no concern. However, a permit is required from the Autonomy Region Conservation Authority at building permit stage. This is included as a recommended condition. Engineering and construction, Peterborough County has no concern. Alter Little First Nation again makes the comment that they're recommending an archaeological assessment. In this case, it is included as a recommended condition of approval. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I recommend the application for approval.
Very much. And I understand the agent, Holly Richards Conley, is online. Is there anything you wish to add?
No, not at this time. I'm just here to answer any questions that the committee may have.
You're muted.
I'm not,
Can't hear you.
I'm not muted.
Just a moment, we're trying to rectify it. It's the technology brain.
Right now, Holly?
Yep, I can hear you.
Still can't hear you, but I was kind of reading your lips. Looked like you said you had nothing to add to the comments. Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Okay. All right, so, yeah, to have all kinds of skills here. Is there anyone else that's in favor of this application? Is there anyone, you are, can you go to the podium and just give your name and address?
So, Madam Mayor, and councilors. My name is Richard Hawkins. I'm the owner of the property. I got this application in because I'm on the windy side of the lake and tie my boat up to a dock and it rocks back and forth. I've got 9 little grandchildren that count on me to pull them around the lake on tubes and wait for it. So Holly has put the application in for me, and I'm hoping to start construction in September. This goes through.
Okay, thank you. So just for your knowledge, this is the Committee of Adjustment. We're not sitting as council. It's we're all just members of the committee.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hawkins. Is there any, thank you. Is there anyone here against? None, I'll bring it to the committee. Are there any questions?
I just want to test the mic, Madam Chair, if you could just give me a second. Hi, Holly, can you try to speak?
Can you hear me?
Okay, thanks. Still not working. I'll let you know in a minute.
So we'll move on to the next application, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Final application today is A06-26. This is for 1965 Pinehurst Avenue. This is in relation to a detached garage with a second unit, being a total of about 1,691 square feet in footprint area. Council may remember we did a zoning bylaw amendment to permit this structure back in 2024 through bylaw 2024-057. The proposed structure is increased in size a little bit, so a variance is needed from the site-specific zoning, as well as the original site-specific zoning permitted the second unit on the second floor. They're also looking to utilize the ground floor now for a portion of it. Will remain garage, but they will be using some of it for the second unit. So there's some variances needed for that from the site-specific zoning. So specifically, we're increasing the maximum permitted second unit dwelling unit area from 129 square meters to 185 square meters. And we're expanding the area of the garage permitted for the second unit use to be within the garage, including the ground floor. I have comments of no concern from the Tonabee Region Conservation Authority. Alderfield First Nation, again, is recommending archaeological assessment, and county engineering and construction has no concern. I'll highlight that an archaeological assessment was prepared in support of the zoning bylaw amendment in 2024. We proceeded based on, at that time, based on the field work having been completed by the archaeologist. However, the full report was not ready yet, but he had essentially said via his letter that there was no archaeological resources on the site and development could proceed. So I'm just including a condition that we receive the final report as part of this this application. I do find that the application meets the 4 tests of a minor variance, and I recommend the application for
Much. So For this is also Holly Richards Conley. Have we managed to get her?
Holly, can you test your mic?
Can you hear me?
Must be a problem with her end.
No, I'm not muted.
So, nope. All right, is there anyone else here that is in favor of this application? Is there anyone? No. Questions? So I'm looking for a motion to approve all four of them for us today. Moved by member Boyko, seconded by member Black, all in favor. That is carried. Thank you very much. We have our committee of adjustment meeting March the 24th minute. And someone goes, member Henry, seconded by member Poulos, all in favor. That is carried, and a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is May the 26th. Moved by moved by member Poulos. I was doing good. Seconded by Mark, all in favor. That's carried. Thank you. We're done.
Hi, Brianna, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, we can't hear you. We're gonna restart the meeting and you'll have to join back in, see if that helps with sound, okay?
Sounds good. Can you hear me or no?
I cannot hear you. No.
No, okay.
Hi, Brianna, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Council meeting for the Township of Selwyn for April the 28th, 2026 with order. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of Mississauga and Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Peoples for their care for and teachings about our earth and our relation. May we honor those teachings. Please observe a moment of silence so the council, staff, members of the public can quietly reflect on our duty to the community that we are trying to serve. Members of the public, staff, presenters, and members of council, please be advised that meetings are broadcast and recorded and made available on the internet. Is there a declaration of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? None. We have our minutes of April 14, 2026. A motion to approve them. By Councillor Koulis, seconded by Councillor Boyko, all in favor. That is carried. Is there a discussion out of the minutes? None. We will go to our first delegation, Mr. Richard Stiganga. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I'm here to present the comparative analysis for the municipality for the year ended December 31st, 2024. And this is although the draft set of financial statements are also included with the agenda package, I was going to just run through the presentation document that I believe will be on the screen shortly. All right. All right. Okay. Good. All right. So yes, I will go through the presentation. Presentation slides. Overall, since I believe it was December when I was here last, when we did the 2023 review, the 2024 information and draft financial statements are to the point of completion, and then this presentation goes through and highlights some of the aspects and changes year over year. Overall, the independent auditor's report is the second document in the package, and what we've selected there was what we consider to be the important paragraph, and that in our opinion, the accompanying consolidated financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Township of Selwyn at December 31st, and the results of its operations and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So that is your standard clean, unqualified auditor's report. Keep in mind when it says consolidated, the numbers we look at will include the library board as well. And then, of course, it's in accordance with PSAB, which is the required reporting procedures. Financial reporting requirements as required under the Act and under the CPA Canada requirements, which is different than how you budget. So I'll try to highlight some of those differences as we go through. Overall, we do list some of the audit procedures that we do to complete the audit, to gather our audit evidence to produce the auditor's reports. And that includes reviewing council minutes, and as well to testing information that is within the financial records, and as well to looking at the flow of information, how monies move in and out of the township records, and how they get adjusted through journal entries. So we look at all of those flows. Overall, the audit is complete, pending receiving some signed documentation back, as well as council approval of the financial statements. Overall, the audit did go well. There was no changes from our initial audit plan. There was excellent cooperation from your management and staff. And then this year, there was one change in the PSAB reporting requirements, and it's how dealing with the new revenue standard on how you recognize revenue. And the major impact here for the township was the fact that the building permits, previously you would record a building permit when you actually collected the fee, not actually when the building permit work was done. So of course it can extend over a number of years before the permit is actually issued. So now within the financial records, in the financial statements, there's just a deferral of what is estimated of that permit fee, what is still left to be completed. And overall, over the years, there's no impact on the township. You still collect the same amount of money in the same fashion you always had. It's just, when does it become revenue? So you're not losing out on anything with that change. And then overall too, there was one item that we noted back from 2022 that was for about $70,000 that was a change that needed to be corrected in 2024. And that was due to the fact that you made a contribution to the county for work to be done on the causeway. And as it was determined this year, that ended up being one of your assets. So instead of being an expense, it just got moved from an expense to a capital assets. That's all that change noted there. So that's just an idea of where things stand from an audit perspective. And now moving through on page 5 of the slide deck, we take a look at some actual numbers for the township. And under PSAB, you break things down between financial assets. So these are assets that are either cash or will be turned into cash. Overall, there was just a bit of a flip this year between your cash and your investments. As a result, your high interest savings account, which is part of your investments, went up, whereas your bank account went down by a similar amount. It's still, in total, they remain fairly consistent. Your accounts receivable went up in 2024, and that's mainly due to the fact that work under your ICIP grant related to the work on Strickland and the water treatment plant. That was an increase of about $1.1 million year over year. So that's why your receivables are up to $2.5 million. And then next you have your taxes receivable. They did increase from 2023 to 2024 by about $600,000, but still as a percentage of the total levy, you're still at, including penalty and interest, you're still at 8.7%, which is below the low risk range set by the province of 10%. So in all the 5-year history there, you've been below that number. So hopefully then moving forward, it ideally will stay below that number, and as well too during the pandemic, certain avenues to recover some taxes weren't always available to you. So now they ideally will be utilized moving forward. And then as well too, you still have some inventories that you have mainly at your recreational or arenas to be sold. So that's that represents your inventories held for resale. So at the end of the year, you had $29.6 million in financial assets, up from about $27.8 million in 2023. Next, we come to who you owe money to, which is your financial liabilities. And this also increased mainly due to an increase in your accounts payable related just to some timing of some payments, as well as at the end of the year, there was a payable for an excavator that for about $500,000 that wasn't there in the year before, as well as accruals for both payroll and vacation also increased. Your deferred revenue, your obligatory reserve funds, that represents the monies you've collected for development charges and parkland fees that you just haven't spent yet. So you've gotten the money and you get to use it moving forward, but since you haven't spent it in accordance with the requirements, it's reported as a deferred revenue. And then the next line, your deferred revenue other, you will see there that there was an increase from 23 to 24. And within that increase, there's about $160,000 in building permit revenues that are now deferred. So that's the estimate of the fees that for permits that are still outstanding that you still have to do work on. So that was the change as a result of the change of the accounting standard. Overall, your long-term debt did decrease, and it's down to about $222,000 at the end of 2024, and that's a loan for your solar installation, your BIT program, and by October 3rd of 2026, that debt will be paid off. Your asset retirement obligations is shown there on one line, and that is a combination from 2022 to 2020 of just your landfill liability. And then in 2023, the asset retirement obligations section came into effect, so that included more things than just the landfill. And at the end of 2024, that liability stands at $4.7 million. And that's broken down about $3.3 million for the landfill. And then as well to some asbestos in in some concrete piping, about 200,000, and then the balance gravel pits of the 1.14 million. And the only change there was just an appreciation in the landfill costs that to show the growth in that liability as we move closer to the closure dates. Then your final liability is the actuarially determined your employee future benefits of about $1.3 million. So then the last two items on this slide, the asset retirement obligation and the employee future benefits, are all items you only factor into your tax rate budget when you think you're going to spend money on them. So until then, it just kind of remains as an unfunded deficit. Next slide looks at your net financial assets 5-year trend. You can see there with the implementation of the asset retirement obligations in 2023, there was a bit of a dip in that trend there, but it did increase again in 2024. And then the following slide gives you the idea of your non-financial assets. So these are your tangible capital assets. And these are items that you don't normally try to turn into cash, which is why they're non-financial. And as well, you can see there that the net book value of those increased to about $75 million. The next slide just gives you an idea of the type of asset additions you had in 2024, which is a little over $6.1 million, and that includes about $500,000 in contributed capital assets in relation to the sidewalks and the streetlights that you now get to maintain in relation to the causeway. So, and then as well too, roadways being the largest asset addition, and a lot of that does relate to the work on Strickland, and as well to the water and sewer is also in relation to the Strickland work and the ICIP grant. And then as well too, you did acquire some larger equipment, as I mentioned earlier, the excavator as well as work purchasing a chassis and things, and a sidewalk sweeper and things such as that. So in your machinery and equipments, your next slide gives you an idea of your assets compared to your amortization. In 2023 and 2024 was asset additions for about $6 million each, whereas your amortization was about $3.3 million in each of those years, which is why the net book value of your assets is going up. And then the next slide is your accumulated surplus slide. To me, this is the most important slide within the deck. It gives you an idea of what makes up your $92 million in accumulated surplus. And you will see right from the very first line that the majority of that is all tied up in your capital assets. And that line represents your net book value less your known debt associated with that. That would be your long-term debt, your asset retirement obligations, and your unfunded capital. Your next line shows you the in the past year you've had some deficits within your arenas, and you can see there that between the two of them, that balance is just down to $25,000 at the end of 2024, and the one on the fire services was cleared up in 2024. And then as well too, you have your unfunded employee future benefits. As I said, that remains as a deficit. And then the next section is the amounts that you can utilize moving forward in your reserve and your reserve funds. You can see there from 23 to 24, you were able to increase your reserve and reserve funds by about $540,000. So those are the amounts you can utilize for both operations and capital, and as well too is regenerating your capital assets is an expensive thing. So it's nice to have some reserves moving forward so you can utilize that. So next page is this reconciliation of the PSAB reported revenues to expenses. And you can see there the budget under a PSAB accounting structure gives you almost a $1.8 million surplus, which of course, when you set your tax rate, it has to be zero. So when you look at the reconciliation part on the lower lower part of that slide, it gives you an idea of things that are not that were adjustments for PSAP from your original budget to bring it back to zero. And as well too, with transferring any surplus or deficits to reserves at the end of the year, your operating position does come to zero both in the actual zone for 23 and 2024. And then your revenues and expenses for the year, you will see there for the last 5 years. With capital grants each year, you should always be generating a surplus, and that's indicative of the last 5-year graphs. There will be a point at some point where you don't have a whole lot of capital, but you still have the amortization related to those assets, so it will flip the other way. So when it does, don't be surprised. Next, we come to the actual revenues reported in the financial statements on slide 14. Overall, your actual revenues came in at $24.5 million. The budget was 23.6. Keep in mind, part of that variance is caused by the contributed capital assets for 500,000. In addition, you did have a little over $170,000 in supplementaries that weren't budgeted, so causing your tax variance there. And as well too, within user fees, certain fees came in higher than budget for both water and sewer operations and at the landfill. And as well too, within the arenas, the revenues were higher than budgeted, which as we will see later in the recreation costs, they were higher as well. So both of those items worked in tandem. And then as well too, you utilized all your Canada Community Building Fund or your gas tax on resurfacing and micro surfacing. And then on slide 15, you will see your expenses, so where your money went. So you will see there that your actual expenses were $21.1 million compared to a budget of $21.7 million. So just some various areas were coming in under budget, although higher than the previous year. And as well, as I mentioned earlier, under rec and cultural services, some of those expenses for the arenas were up, but also the revenues were up as well. And then as well too, within planning and development, your community improvement program and from economic development were coming in lower than budget, causing the variance there. And I guess maybe the one thing you don't see specifically on this page is your environmental services. When you look at the prior year, there was about a $400,000 reduction in cost for the implementation of the new asset retirement obligation. So really, if that wasn't in the 2023 column, you'd be about almost $3.6 million compared to an actual of 3.8 in the current year. And then as well too, you had some savings in the water and sewer areas since those services returned to be an in-house service. And then as well, when you go to the following slide, you will see that the impact of taking the water and sewer services in-house caused your salaries and benefits to go up year over year, but still below budget. And then as well too, within your contracted services, there was a credit within there for the asset retirement obligation. So if you add that into the prior year, you would come in at about a little over $4.7 million compared to an actual of $4.4 million. So that was just the shift of how you provided the water and sewer service. And rents and financial services does include the accretion cost. So for the growth and the liability for the landfill closures, of about $144,000, that was not included in the budget. That explains that variance there. It was at $21.1 million in total expenses. And that resulted increased revenues and lower expenses, which is why your reserves now. A summary of how the year finished off for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Are there any questions for Richard? Deputy Mayor Blunt.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Great presentation. I like the layout. It's pretty easy to understand. If you could just talk in terms of where you finished, expenses, being under revenue by 3.5 million, how we got down to 540 to reserve. I know there's amortization that's taken out. What other things impact that kind of a difference in revenue versus expenses to get us to the 540 increase in reserve reduction?
Yeah, so there are things, with, things, like the the accretion expense as well, amortization, as you mentioned, the actual costs that you've incurred to remediate some of the asset retirement, obligation being, the landfill, and as well too, things such as, the change in unfunded, employee future benefits, your contributed capital assets. All of those things are differences that get factored into how the reserves changed and how your ESAB reported revenue and expenses are. So that a lot of that flows right out of page 12 of the slide.
Question? Yeah, follow up. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. With respect to taxes, I know long-term taxes will be recovered with legislation, sale, property sale, those sorts of things. At what point do we write taxes off? Bad debts, I don't see any of that in any of the reports. Is that not a piece of the
So we do.
county legislation?
Yeah, so we do, when we do the audit, we do take a look at all your properties that are outstanding and have high balances, and then inquire with your staff as to what's happening and the likelihood of whether you will recover all of that through a tax sale. So and where we stood at the end of 2024, there wasn't a need to go any higher than there's a general allowance for doubtful accounts you have in your general ledger. Felt that there was an adjustment wasn't needed to go any higher than what was there. But yeah, great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, so we're going to turn to Lane to give his presentation because in his recommendations to receive and prove what Richard Zoll said here. So Lane.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just about my report here. Well, first of all, thank you to Richard for his presentation. Took a lot of effort from the staff and the auditing team and boiled it down into about 15 slides. So thanks very much for that. We continue to have a great relationship with Baker Tilly. I think we each understand what our roles are and go through them in an expeditious manner. Richard did mention the delays in finalizing the 2024 statement. So PSAB changes once again with respect to revenue recognition was one of the reasons there. We're working on a detailed narrative to follow through on that. So I think for 2025, it shouldn't be as onerous. Definitely the changing staff in the building department and financial services department through some of our staffing succession and things like that have had an impact on that. I think we have our 2025 statements. Our goal is that they would be presented to council in the third quarter. I know we're working towards that, and I think based on our audit date, which is early June this year, we should be able to achieve that. And then I think we'll be back on track with the 2026 financial statement work. Of course, that would be after some of us are gone, but we're trying to set it up in such a way that will be the case. It's not ideal that we're talking about 2023 statements, 2024 statements over the last little while. But some of those PSAB requirements and the other reasons that I provided are part of the rationale behind that. I guess another thing just to mention, I think it's clear to council, but we have a very active capital program here in Selva. So we do know that there's some municipalities, now PSAB has changed that a bit, but some municipalities that, buy a couple of trucks or have one major road rebuild. As council saw this year, when we presented our budgets, we're looking at capital programs of $5 million. So that takes a long time as well to not only provide the audit narrative to go along with that, then the changes to PSAB and the tangible capital assets, but then of course the requirement back on the audit team as well to go through and ensure that all of that is audited in this particular way too. So just a little bit background for council on that. But once again, thanks to Baker Tilly for the job that they did and working through us to bring these statements to council.
So we have a recommendation before us to receive the information with regards to audited financial statements here in December 31st, 2024, and statements that were presented by Richard. Be approved and prepared for posting on the township website. I would like to move. Councilor Boyko, second by Deputy Black, all in favor, that's carried. I just have a question. When we put these on the website, some people that would read this would think we had a lot of money sitting there to spend, and that isn't the case. So do we put some, when we post it on the website, give some explanation?
I can't think of a particular phrase that would be on there. We do normally outline the fact that they're required under PSAB, so the PSAB statement. And I do know that when we present the budget to council at various points throughout the year, then we also have a PSAB compliance report that goes with it as well. But definitely, whenever I'm involved in any conversations with ratepayers, I go through that.
So very much. Madam Deputy Clerk, is there any question that's been brought forward for us today?
There's no questions.
All right, we'll now move on to the first quarter reports for the work plans. Janice Laval.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. So yes, you have before you the first quarter update. Last year, you will note there's a few areas where some items have been taken off for various reasons. Those were noted in the work plan. So with that, we'll just leave it to you to ask any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. I think we'll use the same format we've used in the past where we go through each department one by one. If there's a question, please put up your hand. So first of all, for the Chief Administrative Officer, are there any questions? None. Building and Planning Department, are there any questions? Corporate and Community Services Clerks Department, quarter one update. Any questions? That department. I have one. We have a separate schedule for the Lakefield downtown fire recovery. And I would just ask, this is something relatively new. Would like to speak to it.
Through you, Madam Mayor, could you just repeat that question?
It's to do with the Lakefield downtown fire recovery. It's a separate report that I guess goes with corporate and community services, although there are other departments that are involved in this report. So I would just asking, this is new. Can you just give me an update as to why?
Yes, of course. So this was in regards to Councillor Henry's motion when we were discussing the Lakefield Fire downtown recovery marketing plan to draw more folks downtown. So we did break this one out a little bit separately just to provide some clarity on each of the progress reports. So we said we would come back quarterly with updates, and we thought it would be a good idea to put that into a document similar to the work plan, but break it out separately so that we could go through to identify the different things that were happening within the recovery.
Okay, thank you. Much appreciated. Financial services. Any questions? Fire department. Councillor Boyd.
Through you, Mayor Sanis, the fire department is going to be, along with Kim, hiring the full-time trainer. I'm wondering how that is coming and when we expect we would have that full-time trainer in place.
Kim.
So we are currently in the process of accepting applications. So the position is being posted until mid-May. And then thereafter, we look at the resumes, shortlist them, conduct interviews, check references, and bring somebody on. So I'm hoping that we would have somebody in place. I'm trying to remember my timeline off the top of my head, but I believe by the end of June, beginning of July, all things going as planned.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Koulis.
Thank you for you. It just seems like we have a lot of under monthly calls. We're at 224, which seems higher. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. And it's been a long, hard winter. And so I'm wondering if there's any other details you can provide of why this number may be at 224, or maybe I'm misreading it and it's not.
Mayor Senna, so actually it's down. So compared to last year, at this time, you took that 120 out for the storm damage. So actually, right now,
Okay, thank you.
to the day, we're at 291 calls. So the year before, we were 462, same, but minus that 120. So again, the MPDS program through CAC is working very well. So those oddball calls we get that, we're really hard on, all the guys and girls are actually true to the number we're going to, the difficulty breathing, but then they've got chest pains or radiating pains. And yeah, a couple of them are one of the ones we needed that. So the system's working, and there's no two ways about it. It's good. My fire calls are somewhat down, so not no, but
Yeah, I was just going to make the comment. I have seen a number of ambulances going places, and then it's more followed by fire. Usually fire's there first. It just happens I'll be out. And I was just curious if it was if the system was working is what I'm getting at. You've already made that comment. So it is good to see them on the ground. And I'm glad I was misreading the numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, human resources. Library. Oh, Councillor Poole.
Thank you. This kind of goes off of, it's been rolling around my head for a little bit. We got the grant, which is helping a lot of the seniors programs, and I'm really excited to see that. But as Lane said, this is a grant, it's a capital, not capital, but it's money going in that we're getting through, not our operations. And the fact that although the library is technically separate, our Parks and Recreation approach is that we're not doing program. So I'm just wondering what the outlook is going to look like next year. We've rolled it out. It looks like it's doing great. Are we expecting to continue these programs the full year and into the next work plan next year?
So through you, the seniors community grant funding, that program ended the end of April. That's when our final reports due. Definitely we're going to have to scale back in terms of some of the programming that we've done. We do have that part-time contract with that part-time position now, which I feel is a big help. So we do plan to continue programming in all three branches. Right now, I think we're looking at tech support in Lakefield, the fitness class in Bridge North, and then like a crafting embroidery program in Ensmore, in addition to some one-off programs. So definitely we're going to be able to continue with programming. We will have to scale back a tiny bit. We don't have the same amount of funds that we did before to support the programming. So snacks and whatnot might need to be cut out of some program. I know for the fitness class, we've just put up a donation jar, and I think we've already received 250 donations just for 2 classes. So yeah, the community is very supportive and it's definitely something that we'll be able to continue.
Thank you. I know some earlier in this term, I had a number of seniors in Ennismore working through community care, like their space isn't big enough, right? So they were looking to the library. So I'm really excited to see that we got this funding. And especially that it's being offered at the Lakefield branch for the exercise classes and stuff. I think it's being really much appreciated. There was comments brought to me about we will donate, like we will support this, right, with this. So I do see that support being there. My follow-up question after all that is, I'm wondering if there's any further partnerships that we could do maybe with community care to receive more grants or find other funding looking ahead, because I think these are really important, especially for the seniors.
Yep, through you. We do have a really strong working relationship with community care with Michelle in Ennismore. So definitely, yeah, I know that we have a couple upcoming programs and things that are in the works too. So yeah, it's not a question for us to kind of look into more funding and how we could work together.
Anything else for library? We'll move on to Parks and Rec. Questions, Councilor Boyka?
Thank you. Through Mayor Senes, Parks and Recreation Department is certainly busy. This is a long sheet that Mike has given us here. There's 3 questions that I have. One, just an update on the Ennismore Arena floor and what is happening and how it's going, and hopefully there's no surprises. But what would you report?
Through you, Madam Mayor. There's no surprises. We're not physically as far ahead as I'd like to be, but chemically, they've all gotten a few issues with getting rid of the brine and the ammonia. There was a bit of a change how we're going to be taking the chiller out, because that was a major thing they were going to have to do anyways. We'll be taking it out internally, so there's some re-engineering that had to happen, some civil engineering drawings that had to happen, and that is unfortunately one of the first things. We are well on schedule and ahead of budget. So no concerns, but it's never fast enough. It's like getting a renovation in your home. It's never going to be quickly started enough or progressing as fast as we'd like it, but we are still ahead of schedule and on budget. So I'm not concerned. We have a site mobilization meeting tomorrow morning for the rest, because right now we've only had Simco, the engineers, and the concrete people. We'll be working with more trades starting tomorrow, and then things will, like many things, it takes a while, and then all of a sudden when it starts, it will really start to go up. The floor breaking up was always going to be middle of June, and we're still on schedule to be ahead of that.
Excellent. Thank you. Ahead of schedule and on budget, music to our ears. My second question, if I could, of 3, I've noticed the Lakefield Campground electrical review. What is the issue that is instigating this review?
Madam Mayor, it's old. It's like all of us. 1976 is when it was installed. There's been no major overhaul since that time. So it's just to make sure that any known issues or any future planning can be done. So we're going to be working with a local electrical engineer who's extremely well versed in that area and especially in campgrounds. He's done a lot of work for privates over the last few years, and to that end, we want to make sure that we're proactive and plan out anything that might make things more efficient and have less. There was a few outages, like we all have in ramp brownouts and whatnot. And if it's something that can be fixed with some new breakers or with things like that, then we'd like to identify that. If it means looking for upgraded service size, because since 1976, all of us have become more accustomed to air conditioning, TVs, movies, internet, and every one of those things take power. So it's in that same 50 years, it's more than doubled or tripled what the capacity for seasonal is. So yeah, that's what that was all about. And then there is a little bit of money in there for low hanging fruit, the things that we could fix that will just make it safer and more sound in the electrical, because many years ago in the previous council, one of the things that was reviewed was possible electrical upgrade. And there was, I think, $60,000 or $80,000 looked at that time as being a possibility with the local contractor. So that didn't happen. So we're just trying to be a bit more proactive and maybe by making ourselves organized and planned, if a grant is available, then we are shovel ready.
It's great. Thank you. And my final question, Parks and Rec. I noticed that under Stick and Puck, it was a pilot and it said the pilot is complete. I'm not asking necessarily for a report right now, but will there be a report coming to council about the Stick and Puck, or whether it should continue, whether it should stop, whether it should grow into Ennismore? Will there be a report on that pilot coming to council?
Through you, Madam Mayor, normally in any other non-election year, I would say absolutely, because timing would be real easy and so, yeah, there will be information available. And certainly, you know, I haven't spoken about this with Janice or with the clerk department. So I'm not sure when we might be able to work it in there so that it isn't affected. Generally, I can say it was successful. If we were looking at the numbers, we made money every week. We had 12 to 18 people as the high and the low. The median was probably 13, 14 people. But yeah, it's certainly if council wanted to, and we wanted to lengthen that period, then it is possible that a report could come. It wouldn't be very long.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I can confidently say that it was successful. You know, we didn't have to turn people away.
Right.
At the same time, it was well subscribed, well used, and certainly well enjoyed. There's nobody that came to us and said, "Oh, that's way too expensive," or it's not well run, or those sorts of things. And that was in a startup year where we had a few little portals and
Which is what a pilot was all about. Thank you. Yeah, I was there 4 or 5 times, I think, and it seemed to be running great and seemed to be well used by the people who were there. So thank you for that. I'm glad it was a success.
Right, are there any other questions for Parks and Rec? That's a cool.
There you, John, I had similar questions, so I'm glad you got past. I can talk the whole time. I'm curious with my questions about the ice allocation pilot program. So my understanding is that there was a meeting scheduled, I think it happened last week, with the user groups to discuss how the pilot went with them before you bring the report back to us. I'm curious how that meeting went. Was it well attended? Are there any flags that we should be aware of at this point?
Through you, Madam Mayor. There was no surprises. It was very well attended, even though they didn't all respond. We planned to have it in the meeting beside us because only 7 had responded of the 20. 19 showed up. So we didn't move it, but we got very cozy in there. Alora and Amy ran it very, very well. We just asked for successes, for disappointments, for suggestions, and we did get a lot of feedback that had similar kind of answer over and over again. The adult groups were disappointed they had to give up their Monday and put it on a Wednesday. They were assured that our draft would have something in there that protected year over year the number of hours they had, because one of the fears was that they would lose an hour every year. It was written in the first draft. It sounded like it could be that, you know, first year they asked for the 10 o'clock time or the early time, and then the next year they asked for the early time again, and pretty soon the adults have eroded away to 10 o'clock only. So there was that concern, and generally, whether it was with the EGHA, the EMHA, the LDMHA, Lakefield College School, there was only positives. It was really the adult groups where we got concerns and a feeling that that it was very difficult to organize a one-night league where times changed. Frankly, that surprises me only because I participated in volleyball and curling and baseball, and you never play the same time every week. Sometimes you only play the same day of the week. So I think, just my opinion, that might be a bit of a growing pain, but it was certainly brought up. And there won't be a very long report to our council, but there will be an update on that because there was some feedback and the areas of concerns absolutely were the adult groups from the Sunday night league in both arenas and then the Wednesday night. We will be making a couple suggestions, which we think will help improve things because we were way busier on the 4 o'clocks by having that clause in there that you had to fill the 7s and fill the 4s before you requested 8 o'clock on a weekday. So that was definitely a very wise decision, council and staff's part. We didn't have 100% of the 7 o'clocks rented, and we would like to see a bit more equity amongst the youth groups that they all have at least 1 10 o'clock because 2 did and 1 did not. So just some things like that, but generally actually there's no fist fighting. There was no, yeah. I mean, it was all about hockey at the end of the day. I know it was actually very amicable and really quite productive with very few similar points and requests which shouldn't surprise council because back when we first did this, it was a lot of the same stuff. The adult groups do not want to lose their time, that they really want to remain as a community center that values those that continue to play in their 30s, 40s, and 50s versus, just being all about the kids.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. And I know I've got a lot of calls, especially from the adults, just feeling not left out of the conversation, but not really understanding the process and the timing of when they can submit information. I think it's also a piece too, where these are still people who are working full-time jobs. Sometimes those are after hours. They've got kids in the minor leagues. So they're all over the place. And it's just feeling in my opinion, pushed out when they're trying to support all different facets of life at the arena, right? So I do appreciate taking the extra time and being able to field those questions and reassure them. My follow-up for you. When that report comes back to us, are we going to get a new draft of the policy with the updates that you identified?
Through you, Madam Mayor. First up, I want to respond to the not question, but the comment. That's certainly one of the reasons why we tried to make sure that they realize that call us. Always come to us because the doors are open, the lines of communication are open, but if we don't hear the question or we don't hear the concern, it's very difficult to address it. Absolutely, there's about I think a half dozen recommended changes to it that just clarify that something as simple as what is a weather-related cancellation. There were some questions on that. It was addressed in there anyways, so looking for good verbiage used by other municipalities, it just clarifies that, because this past year we had several weather events and unfortunately, sometimes the news gets ahead of itself, calls it for a day later, and then it's a nothing. And so just those sorts of clarifying timing, who you reach out to, that you don't just call the arena staff and go, oh, yeah, we're not coming. So, and so those sorts of things, but I think it's, if I remember correctly, there are some suggested changes and it'll be very clearly marked what we felt was worked and what we're hearing from and feeling are good clarifications, good modifications to make it hopefully take it off the pilot category and to full-time play.
Any other questions with regards to parks? None. Public Works. Right. And we have the Selwyn Township report card for 2025. Looks really good. Any comment on it?
I'd just like to compliment the folks who put that together. I think that's a terrific document, and that being on the website and for people to see, I think that's a terrific summary of what we do. So my compliments to who put that together.
All right, Janice has a recommendation that the report goes to work plan. We received information, can I have something like that? That's what Clueless, second by Mr. Boyko on favor. Okay. First quarter financial.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so we provided some comments, which I hopefully will augment the report or the financial reports as they went. Still pretty early days, so we've got accumulated revenue and deficits and taxation and things like that, which will be showing up more in the second quarter report. That caution always about insurance premiums, so it makes it look like some of our services higher, their overhead accounts are very high at this point in the year, but that's because we have to pay our full premium at the start of the year. No surprise that really snow and the quantity of snow that we received have had an impact. So on solar generation for sure, just given the slope and things like that. So we get coverage on our panels. So they can't generate. We've had a couple of winters like that, and so it throws off early production. But then if we have strong sunlight throughout the spring, summer, and fall, then we can get back on track. Winter activities and winter, there's winter control in our financials. That's the big area, and you know, we've already got an overage in snow plowing and snow removal. Thankfully, we do have money left over for sanding, and that's typical in a typical winter. That's what we have in November, December. Not a lot of plowing, but more sanding and salting. So, you know, hopefully it'll be a calm start to the winter for us. But it's likely that when we fill the domes and we're ready, we'll probably be over budget in that area. So as we work through the year, then we'll take a look and see, are there savings in other areas, or is that just something that we need to prepare for as part of the budgeting process for 2027?
Are there any questions for Dane?
Thank you, Chair Marcinus. With regards to the arena operations, is everything moved like is there going to be a loss of rentals and stuff like that?
Yeah, you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, definitely. But staff took that into account when we put the budget together. So yeah, we knew that there would be no activity at the Ennismore Arena and the downstairs area at all. I think the upstairs is still available for rental, so there may be some there. But yeah, we did take that into account when we put the budget.
Any other questions for me? Not, can I have a motion to proceed forward? We have a number of consent items. I'd like to pull 6A to deal with the one item that's looking for direction. But with regards to the rest of them, is there anything anyone wants pulled? None, can I have a motion to read them? Councillor Henry, by Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor, carried, and we will go to 6A, number 1. I would ask, we received a letter from resident regards to 79 Strip Street. And I would ask Adam if you could give us an outline of the steps that were taken with regards to this property.
Sorry. Thanks. Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. 79 Strickland. So as council is aware, in 2024, through some ISEP funding, we replaced the water main on Strickland Street. That project carried on through the construction season. Late into 2024, October-ish, they started doing the curb and sidewalk as well as base coat of asphalt. Around that same timeline, once the curb and asphalt was completed, they started reshaping all the boulevards and then topsoil into November, topsoil and sodded boulevard built. That's Strickland Road. On the south side of Strickland Street, there are quite a few houses along there that have a fairly steep slope boulevard coming down to the roadway. We were lucky enough, Accurex, with the chosen contractor for that project, and it worked really well in the township with all residents. While they're reestablishing those slopes, they were trying to mitigate the slopes the best they could to manage that. Some of those steeper areas. With respect to 79, they had come by and sloped that boulevard back towards Maple Tree to reduce the slope that was already there. Once they completed the initial grading, resident came back in and spoke with the foreman on site and requested that in around the Maple Tree, he wanted to be able to drive a lawnmower. So asked that area be flattened out to accommodate his riding lawnmower. In flattening that area out, it pushed the top of the slope closer to the road, which created more of an exaggerated slope down. That was completed in late November. In June of 2025, the resident reached out, voicing concern that the slope of the boulevard, at which point we reviewed it, done a couple walks with the contractor already with a consultant, and got back to the resident. He said he'd already been back twice to fix that slope. One will come back and third time to fix. It was conveyed to the residents with that year that they want to adjust that slope satisfaction as long as we didn't create drainage concerns. He had our permission to adjust that slope on his own. The resident was concerned that they were maintaining that section of boulevard. Did agree that we could add it to our roadside mowing program that go around twice a year. It's in Lakefield in July and in August. We did review that area and that slope had been cut. So we didn't have to cut any of that. Yeah, that's kind of where that whole situation is with the bus stop. I know that reached out to council and obviously made this letter. And a little bit of a history behind that.
Councilor Boyko.
Not a question about him, excuse me, but a comment. Yeah, I visited the site a couple of times as well. And what we have is a situation where, as Adam explained, where the slope is rather steep. It used to be easily mowed, and now it is like this. The gentleman that asked Accurex to do it originally, when he looked at it in late November, looked and said, looks okay. But then when he tried to mow it in the spring, realized it was not okay. That's where this began. We have been asked to look at it, and we have agreed as a township that we are going to cut that grass because of the slope that means that he can't. So rather than us agreeing to cut one section of lawn on Strickland Street, I think it would be easier just to put the slope back where it was so the gentleman can cut his lawn. So therefore, I would move a motion that staff take necessary actions at 79 Strickland Street to return the gradient to the front of the property to its original slope and apply grass seed. I'll repeat that if you'd like. Tanya? You got it? So that staff take necessary actions at 79 Strickland Street to return the gradient at the front of the property to its original slope and apply grass seed. We have a photograph of what it looked like before, so therefore we can use that photograph to get it back where it was. So I move that motion.
Deputy Mayor Black.
Thank you through you, Mayor. I'll second that motion. Sounds like there's been a lot of communication around this. I put my productivity hat on and I was at the site. I believe Councillor Henry was also at the site. Councillor Boyko and myself had a meeting with CAO and the manager of Public Works on this. There's been many emails going back and forth. A lot of communication, a lot of not agreeing with what was said, what happened at the time. And I just think it's rather than have, again, the township take over additional maintenance work on Strickland, I think in the long run, it would be more cost effective to return it to the state that the resident can mow it himself. And then we don't have to worry about having equipment down there to mow that section of Strickland.
Yeah. Any other comment? Councillor Coolidge.
Through you, I just want to make a clarification, because I only have the letter, I'm not familiar with this. I'm just looking it up on Google right now. To compare with the comments. Where is the property line? Like, is it in the slope or like I'm just wondering where the property line is with the road.
Adam?
Through Madam Mayor, the property line would be midway back to that slope.
So, thank you.
And just to be clear, so when we do the roadside mowing, we are driving down Strickland Street to the east side anyway, so we're not going there really specific. Cut that, we're already passing by the area. And just a point of clarification, that area along there, the curb is lit 2 inches forward, so we can't restore it to its original contours. That's not possible. What I guess council would be asking us to go back and restore it to the way it was first, the way it originally was when we first went.
That's right.
Come back the third time.
So actually, I appreciate your motion. I would like to offer a friendly amendment that we receive the correspondence first of all, and that the township assist with regrading the front of Mr. Green's property to reinstate the more gradual slope to the curb. And I'd like to put a maximum amount of money as to what we would be willing to spend on it. I don't want to leave it open because I've heard different numbers from Mr. Green. He said, oh, he got a quote, it's gonna cost 600. Now I've heard him say that it could be up to 1,200. No. And that's just a suggestion from me. If we're going to go down that road, I think there should be a path and to reinstate it to the more gradual slope to the curb, rather than saying what it was before, because we've just heard from Adam that we can't do that because there's a sidewalk there now. So, or a curb there that, yeah, wasn't there. So. Things about that.
Well, if I could, as the mover of the motion, Your Worship, other than the cap, I think it's inherent in the motion as I put it, that our folks will do the best they can to get it back to the grade that it was at before, using the photograph that is there. They're reasonable people who will make reasonable decisions about getting it back as best they can. As for the cap, no, I don't think that's necessary. Let's get the job done.
Open as to how much it would cost. Councillor Coolidge.
Through you, I just want to clarify, how much do we think it's going to cost? Just curious if this has been rolled around because I haven't been part of these communications.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we haven't got an estimate on what, but I haven't looked at what it costs our forces to be fair. We're reluctant to staff to go back ourselves and do the work. This would be the third time. So at some point, there's got to be a later on where, you know, we go back the third time, complete the work, and then it's not going to satisfaction of the resident. So it's just, I guess it's just trying to establish some kind of bar here of what we're going to do. And I think that's where the cap from. It's just once the work's been completed, then that's kind of it is. To be honest, it's just you can't keep going back to the same spot. We need to be fair to all the residents of Sullivan. We might go back more times to any resident to Johnson Boulevard like this. Fair and cost.
If I could.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, just because Councillor Coolidge asked about this because she hadn't attended. This is a piece of property. It's about 10 feet wide about 20 feet long. So that's all we're talking.
Just to follow up because, yeah, like my worry is we're gonna keep coming back and back and back for money of this. So like if we're going to, say hire someone externally to do it, like we also need someone to come in and say this is what it's gonna cost, number one, and then someone to actually do it. There's both, numbers the actual work. If it's outside of us like that, if I'm thinking it's gonna be close to 5 if we're doing external partnerships. Just because, 5,000, because I'm putting a cap at that in my mind. But if we keep going back and back, it could get up there and up there. So again, I haven't seen the site and looking from an old Google Doc, or an old Google image of what it used to look like. I've driven up there in the last 3 weeks or so for Girl Guide and stuff. So like I'm aware of what's up there, but I'm not aware of the conversations that have happened that I'm not present to. So this is why I'm asking. I'm also quite aware of maintenance fees for property and a lot of yard work. Like I spent a lot of money this weekend just on garden. So in regards to grading and stuff, this is a whole other thing. And with external costs, we don't know those. So I think a cap is important here. I'm more afraid of them coming back again because these conversations seem to be circular. And I just would hate for this to keep going, especially during election year, because we've already had conversations with this individual. It's going to roll and get very unintended.
Deputy Mayor Blunt.
Thank you, Chair Mayor. I think the end result is the resident needs to come out and sign off on the final job. So we're not coming back. I think that's simple to do. They can come out and say, yeah, that grade works. Get on the tractor. Yeah, okay. I took that piece along. Sign off that it's done. And then there's no further recourse. No.
Councillor Henry.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Sennis. I think I counted 15, 16 bodies sitting around here. Money's just not a matter right now, apparently. And if the conversations keep on going, we're gonna double the expense of this. I will be happy to support the motion moving forward with a document that says I'm happy.
No cap.
No cap. I think we got enough equipment to do it myself. Shit, I'll get my truck and bring my tractor in.
Are you offering?
If that's what it takes to get it done, I guess.
Just a second. Sorry, I like a friendly amendment there. Gonna go that way. Like, I think there needs to be clear parameters on both ends. It is really open and individual. I can tell they're feeling, maybe not heard or struggle. They're not happy, right? I think there needs to be some kind of conversation where we're seeing like what we're gonna do, we agree what's gonna happen. They sign off. Like there has to be clear written communication here about what exactly being agreed to. And if they're happy to, because then you put something to benchmark it to. You're not gonna put a cap. I think when you have this first agreement, you're gonna see you need a cap. I'll leave that out there.
With your permission. Let us therefore see if we can amend this motion that a cap of $2,000, a cap of $2,000 with the homeowner signing off on the work done when complete. Is that enough of wordage that we know what we're saying?
Again, I'm just curious who's gonna do the work. So I think that should be written and I will know, but I don't know that.
So my suggestion is the township assist with regrading. That doesn't mean that the township's going to do it. They could get someone to do it for them. However, I'm concerned how we went up to $2,000. The original amount that we have been told it was going to cost from a quote that Mr. Greenwald was $600. And now we're up to 2,000. This taxpayers' dollars we're spending.
Okay, if I could answer that then. When I made my motion, it says that staff take necessary actions. Let's say staff's going to do it. Staff's going to take necessary actions.
But where the problem put it back to the original slope, and that might help. To reinstate it to a more gradual slope.
Okay. So the staff take necessary actions at 79 Strickland Street to return the gradient to the front of the, to return the gradient at the front of the property to a more gradual slope.
To the curb.
Slope to the curb. And apply grass seed. Got it all? What cap would you like to see, Madam Mayor? Two. No, that's why I say, what would you like to see? 1,500? Well, I've never heard that, and so 1,000. Cap of 1,000. And that the homeowner sign off on the work when complete.
For you, can I ask a procedural question? If it does come back that it is more than that, what is our next steps? I'm just curious. I just want to make sure we're not literally getting the buttons. So.
Well, exactly. So that's what
And I'm sorry, I did complicate that where I'm looking at prices of doing stuff for very small jobs, and it's expensive to hire someone if we don't do it ourselves, but we're also taking into consideration labor, getting the machinery there, which isn't there right now, all that stuff, so.
Well,
and maybe that's the question with that. If it's over the $1,000, what do we do?
then staff would need to come back to us, ask for bigger. So
Yeah,
that's
so-
why I said 2,000.
So for sure, I think with this, there's staff or sorry, council's giving us direction to figure out how this is going to be done to return it to a more gradual slope. With a cap of $1,000. I too had heard that there was a quotation provided last year for $600 for similar work. So I would expect that well, maybe it's within that realm of possibility. I don't know, Adam. And again, I agree with the mayor in terms of we need some flexibility in terms of how this is going to be done, because I'm not sure that using township forces is the best way to do that. If it couldn't be done for that amount of money, I guess we'd have to come back to council. Or just, we could use some discretion if it's a 1,100 per house.
Right. So because we've gone back and forth, so so does it read like this now? Through you, Mayor Senes. That staff take necessary actions at 79 Strickland Street to return the gradient at the front of the property to a gradual slope to the curb and apply grass seed to a cap of $1,000, and that the homeowner sign off on work when complete. Okay.
I second that.
All right, I ask.
Okay, Counselor Mary Koulis,
No, support it. Yes.
Counselor Brian Henry,
Yes.
Mayor Sherry Senes, Deputy Mayor Ron Black,
Yes.
Counselor John Boyko.
Yes.
Was carried.
So, we have the rest of the correspondence that we 6A. Come on to that. Henry, seconded by Deputy Mayor Black, all in favor. Thank you. Other new and unfinished business, AMO delegations, do we have a delegation?
Through you, I get joined. It's, I'm looking, to bring back the idea of, having the conversation of the province help support the RIDE programs again that we discussed a few, months back when we were discussing the budget. We've seen that they're actually cutting the funding for that, so there's less opportunity to have those programs in our, communities. And they are a safety, they're really helpful for our safety, on those roadways. And a question here, though, is I'm flagging this as a joint because Councillor Henry has let me know that he won't be going to email, but it is under some new flagging that. The second piece here is this something that we could join the county with? Because a lot of these programs actually happen on county roads, not county roads. I can leave it. I can leave it that we have a delegation. But we can
Do
circle
that
back
for
to it.
now, and I'm not sure. So, yeah. Which minister would that be with? Thanks, first,
I think it-
Others? Is there any?
I'm talking way too much today. Through you, Mike, can we have an update on the inclusive playground? Because I hear new dates and I think we should just make it vocal that the park will be not accessible during certain points. Another pun intended.
I'll quote, sorry. I will, through you, Madam Mayor, I will quote my mother and say, believe half of what you, none of what you hear and half of what you see. What you've heard is not accurate. It will never be closed down. However, the construction site will be limited access to contractors only from May the 11th to June the 11th. Megan is working on some social media. She's already mailed letters to the 63 people that live within a kilometer proximity of there. So those should be delivered this week, and the social media messaging will go right after that. Mobilization for the earthworks is May the 11th. We will lock the gates at the Ennis Road entrance so that no one can get hurt. Snow fence along that so that the pavilion, beach, grassed area, and existing playground are accessible for the entire time. And make sure that any access from parking lot and through to the new site, which we just probably mess this up, just west of the existing, they're gonna go parallel to each other. But one will be on the garden side, the new one will be on the garden side, so that's where the snow fence will go and contain the whole area, so nobody can possibly get hurt. Equipment is safe, but we will lock that gate the entire time between the 11th of May and the 11th of June while the work is happening. We had a very productive construction meeting last week, and everybody's on board. We got their stuff together, so.
One follow-up, Mike. So I know one of the disc golf kind of goes through there. Are we losing use of, like, I think it's the first hole? Sorry, disc golf. Like, I'm just trying to think of the area. So, we're gonna be losing use of a couple of holes, I think, for the disc golf then.
No, we'll lose one hole. So yeah, just hole number one, because it tees off or discs off from the inside that area. So it will be an 8-hole course for about a month.
Okay. I know every time I'm out there, there's people using it. So I just want to make sure they have the proper messaging and everything, and safety too, just so they're not screwing around the wrong place.
Well, no, I appreciate that that reminder, because I don't think we have 3 regular leagues that use it. So we'll make sure that the Disky Chicks and none of the other ones are aware of that.
Thank you so much, and great work. It's really appreciated how fast this is all moving through. I know everyone involved is
Quite great.
The neighbors and the residents who got this going, plus the various donators and corporations, but also optimists. And this is one of the rare times when the Lions, the Optimists, Bell Rotary, Peterborough Rotary, and I think that maybe it all have partnered together for a project, putting in greater than the minimum of any of those, I think, was $7,000 up to $20,000. So yeah, this is the best community one when you talk about the local service groups all coming together and saying, yep, this is more important than what club you're with. Let's all work together.
And it was such a good idea that the city's trying to copy us. Okay, so, Madam Deputy Clerk, can you please read the bylaws?
Sure. So we have bylaw 2026-38, which is to authorize an environmental impact agreement with consent to seller application B1113. Authorizing bylaw for micro surfacing is bylaw 39. Bylaw 40 is to authorize a surface treatment tender agreement with Dufferin Construction. We have an authorizing bylaw for the Bridgenorth Community Hall transfer switch tender, and that was bylaw 41. And the last one is bylaw 2026-42 to adopt the corporate use of resources policy during election time.
So. Councillor Henry, second by Councillor Boyko, on favor, carried, move to go into close. Councillor Henry, second by Deputy Black, on favor. We'll go into close to the other one.